Hello all, I'd like to welcome you to today's Fintech Finance Virtual Arena, where we're going to be hosting you here. In this special arena, I have none other than HPS's CEO Abdeslam Alaoui. HPS are one of the leading payment organizations of the world. They power financial institutions in over 90 countries with their Power Card solution. So without further ado, Abdeslam, for our viewers today, can you give me a bit of background to yourself and HPS?
Thank you, Doug. My name is, as you just mentioned, Abdeslam Alaoui. I am in this industry for the past 30 years. So I am a veteran in this industry. And we have, with the group of friends, co-created HPS 25 years ago. We were all coming from a payment industry background. And we had this unstoppable envy of entrepreneurship. And we wanted to really create our own toy at that time. And hopefully we made some wise decisions. We took the right path. We made the right choices at the right time. And this has led us today joining or having around us a team of talents and brilliant engineers, salespeople, marketing people, finance people. So I think it's before everything, HPS is a human story of meeting the right people at the right time. So briefly, this is what is HPS on the soft side. On the hard side, it is obviously a very strong platform, a very strong payment software that is today serving different industries, the financial industry, of course, the telecom industry as well. And we are also playing a significant role at country level in different places of the world by connecting all the payment actors. And why this is really important, and we feel we have a role to play, because here we are just connecting people that are able to sell and to buy. It means that they are able to have a role in the economy and then in their own communities. So this is have a sense in what we do every day. And this is shared among all our collaborators or all our colleagues.
Oh, absolutely brilliant. And yeah, I guess you've really hit the nail on the head there. Your payments is really the kind of the financial service that everyone needs access to, no matter where they are in the world. And kind of following on from that, I know that HPS is actually quite the worldwide organization. As you can see here, it's very hot in London. It's about 32 degrees in this room. But you started out in Morocco. What's the payment scene like over there? What's it like based in Morocco now?
So we started in Morocco as our base, but very quickly we went outside Morocco. So our first customer was a Moroccan bank, but the second customer was a Kuwaiti bank, and the third customer was a Kuwaiti bank, and the third customer was a Cyprus bank. So we had the chance of being able to start at home. This is very easy and extremely important, because we can do really efforts in buying the account between brackets. But when we went outside, this has given us respectability of our products, of our services. And very quickly, we have been exposed to the international market. So yes, we started in Morocco. Yes, our roots are in Morocco. But very quickly and very soon, we have been able to be exposed to all the markets in different parts of the world. Obviously, close from home in the beginning, and the more we got mature, the farthest we have been able to go.
Excellent. And when it comes to the payment scene in Europe, obviously, I'd love your views on this. But being such a strong part of the industry for so long, what have been some of the biggest cultural and technological changes when it comes to payments, specifically in Europe? If I ask you, do you think the cultural and technological changes were the fuel behind the payment services directives?
I think definitely yes, and I think the last directive, the PSD2, is extremely interesting because it is most probably the first time that this has not been driven by any technological rules or economical rules, but really by the fact that the owner of the data remains the customer and not the banks. And I think this is really the first time that the game has changed. And it is the right time because we know that data is the oil now, and data is where everything, from where everything starts. And bringing this data ownership to the original owner is really a very wise and, to me, very important move. And this shows that we are, between bracket, humanizing the industry. And this is really giving another breath to the whole industry, because this is giving much more players. There are so many fintechs that are able today to play a game in this payment industry that was before totally trusted by the big ones. And this is, for me, a very positive sign that the regulator are giving, that gives the chance to many others to play. And at the end of the day, the real benefits is for the consumer. So this is absolutely perfect.
Looking over to Africa as well, we always hear about the adoption of mobile technology being driven by customer choice. Can you tell me, what is the payment scene in North Africa specifically like?
So I think what is really making the difference now is mobile payment has covered a gap, the gap of internet access, the gap of getting into a branch. It has been considered for a long period as a commodity. I think the new challenge is how can we really create value? How can we have an interoperability around the mobile? And by this, it's not only interoperability between two operators, but it's much more than that. It's interoperability between a microfinance association, a telco, a bank, a food seller, a small shop, a government, a social benefit. It is really how can this mobile payment be in the middle, be the glue between all these different actors, being in the middle of the economy. I think this would be the mobile payment or the digital payment 2.0, because on the top of that, we will be able to have a real financial inclusion that will not be reduced only to a payment mean, but we could really offer real financial services to each of the citizens. So imagine if you have a plumber coming at home that you usually pay with a note. If you pay him by your mobile, and then we can pick 10 cents, 20 cents and open a health account, a social security, maybe a school account for the kids. This really changes the whole picture. And we see, again, a sense of what is happening. And this is really giving another energy to what we are doing.
So HPS is truly a worldwide organization, but you started in Morocco. So can you tell me, what is the payment scene in North Africa specifically like?
So we started in Morocco, but we very quickly went out of Morocco, and we have been in the Middle East, in Europe, very, very early days. And this has helped us gaining respectability in the country itself. At that time, the payment industry was very weak, and it was really an open door for us to bring technology, to bring new systems in what was there. It was in 25 years ago already, and this was a great story. Where we are today, we are not up to the highest standards compared to Europe, but cash is still very, very present. And today, our mission, if I can say so, is really to fight the cash in North Africa.
That's absolutely incredible. So you're saying that effectively from this payment data that's being sent across in this ecosystem, you can actually proactively create new financial products on top of that just from the payment.
Exactly. And this is really what we are doing today, this is how we spend our energy, because from where we are coming and our positioning, we have to be really problem solvers. We are not bringing a commodity layer that enables people to transact. We are really bringing solution to real problems that the customers on all sides, by the way, that could be really the big sailors from one side and the small citizens between bracket on the other side. This is what we are doing.
If I could focus on some of those big players for a moment, you know, your Power Card suite supports more than, I think it was 400 institutions. I did from my research, and in over 90 countries. So, you know, how has it become this leading solution in payments? You know, what are the key offerings that set HPS apart from some competitors?
I think here what made our positioning a bit different is that we have invested a lot, and this was a pain at the moment, to have one single stack. It means that we are having one product. So when we were in Japan, we had to include when we entered Japan, we had to include in our software some functionalities that are very, very, very specific to Japan. When we were in France, there was something. So when we went to Hong Kong, then we were offering them what was in Japan and what was in France. And they said, oh, this is really brilliant. So in fact, the fact of retrofitting all these functionalities that we have all over the world, we are able to bring to each country the experience that we have acquired through the different places we have been to. So I think this is really what makes us very, very strong. In the other side, because we didn't want to have heavy implementation in each of the countries we discover, we have a very high level of parameterization of the software. So when we get into a new country, while competition would have to customize, to open the source code and new heavy project, in our platform, it is really a set of rules which reduces significantly the implementation time, which reduces the testing, which reduces all the friction that you usually have with the customer on this type of projects. So from one side, a lot of ready-to-use functionalities that you do not find in other platforms. And on the other side, when the functionality is not already implemented from a parameter point of view, we are able to do it very quickly and very easily.
Excellent. I actually I recently did an interview with some payment specialists over in Mexico, and it was really interesting to hear about the term friction and how different cultures have different elements of what they consider friction in a payment. For instance, in Japan, you typically would find that cash is the most streamlined way. But if you were obviously to go to China, it would be the QR code. How does HPS maintain its relevancy in an industry that has rapidly evolved in the last couple of years, even before the pandemic?
I think, and this is a very, very important question. First of all, I think it's a matter of will. So is the company has the innovation in the blood, in the DNA, or no? This is the first equation to resolve. If you are looking at a very short-term short-term figures, you need to make the figures for this year, then usually you start cutting. And what you start doing in the very first time, what is not for this year, I will leave it for next year. And this is the exact problem of innovation in many, many companies. They do not spend enough. The second point that is important to us is the mindset. And today you can define the innovation on so many ways. But for us in HPS, what we say to the people, the research and development burns money to create ideas, and innovation burns money to go from ideas to money. So this is really important. And the second very, very important point is that the innovation is really the ability to fight the bureaucracy. The innovation is the ability to fight the budget constraints. The innovation is really to go through all these hurdles to make sure that we can get a product on the market. So the first one is the money you put. The second one is the mindset, and obviously, the third one is the talents that you have. If you don't have the right people, then you can spend as much as you want. And to make the glue between these three things, we have very early, more than 6-7 years ago now, engaged into an open innovation program. And in fact, we engage our customers. We engage some startups that are more startup than we are. And all of us, we are getting into innovative ideas that we fund. And among so much, we just forget a lot of them, but we have the gold one or two goldish one that we keep, that we breathe until they are a real product.
I mean, it is especially brilliant because we cover various different things in the fintech industry, and it seems that payments really has been the one that actually every time you hear someone talk about innovation, they really mean it. It's an industry that just has to keep moving now.
I fully agree with you, and it is something that without the payment, nothing can happen.
No.
And if this payment do not innovate, then something else will happen. And in fact, as you know, necessity is mother of innovation. And each time we have new computers, each time it goes faster, each time we need to sell faster, each time we need, so all this make this very, very effervescent, a very boiling industry. And every day we have to address a new challenge. Each time we have to offer a new user experience, and that is very, very exciting for us.
I can imagine. And I mean, following on from that, one of the biggest challenges has been, as I mentioned, this pandemic, especially when it comes to payments. Cross-border payments are changing forever, but also employees of large institutions are now making payments and transactions from home. How do you think this is going to change the way that a bank looks at their back-end architecture when it comes to payments, their security and the KYC, and especially considering that all their employees are making payments like large sums from home?
I think this pandemic has been a blessing for the payment industry, for many reasons. And it has taken different form depending on the geographies. So what you have mentioned in the mature economies, this is something that is very, very much visible. And we have seen the cash usage in England just melting.
I think it was 60% less ATM usage.
It's incredible. And this has other problems, but the reality is that this is giving a very, very strong energy to what has already started. But there is another effect on the economies or on the emerging economies where the cash was so much present. And these people realized that cash was dirty in the real sense, in the real word, in the real sense of the word. Sure. And people really got afraid to take cash. And this has triggered another behavior that we hope, or at least we are really doing everything to make sure that people do not forget that cash is expensive. Cash can be dirty in the sense of viral thing, but cash is dirty because it can be a very easy crime vector. So many things. And here we saw that by having an electronic payment infrastructure can ease so many things. And if I take the example of few countries where we are active, a lot of direct help to the citizens that have been in the past given on cash is now given through electronic payment, through wallets. And this has eased very, very much, bring the process easy to make this money to the hand of the citizen within seconds or microseconds, while before we had to transport, we had to secure, we had to give, and all the pain that you can imagine. So yes, this pandemic has been very blessing in different parts of the world. A lot of sanity has been implemented in the behavior of the citizens, and this is very, very good.
Yeah, that's it. It's actually never really talked about. Everyone always talks about how it's just brilliant from a customer experience point of view, because obviously we spend so much time talking with maybe some of these mature markets. But as soon as you actually open up those technologies, you realize what digital technology can do for everyday citizens. And if I could kind of follow on from that, that form of financial inclusion, we did touch on it slightly before, but what's HPS doing in terms of helping facilitate this financial inclusion, if I can ask? And where do you think that some of these developing payment economies that HPS works in, do you think that they could effectively leapfrog some of the mature payments economies when it comes to technology?
Yeah, definitely. And I'll give you a very tangible example in Morocco, where we had to use the latest technology, and I'm talking here about blockchain, and where we have, with the central bank, built a proof of concept to distribute social benefits to citizens through electronic means by using a blockchain technology. So we can see that sophisticated technology, because of the cost of it, is now very much accessible to all the markets. And they really resolve issues. And in that case, we do not need so many intermediaries that are in fact just picking their due each time without really bringing value. And this is the beauty of technology, that sometimes it resolves or it make all the unnecessary layers disappearing. And this was a very, very good example. So very mature technology that is usually, we talk about the sophisticated Bitcoin, blah, blah, blah. But here, this has really resolved a very, very specific issue in a very specific country.
And I imagine it's quite a significant issue as well.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. So I guess we've talked about how the pandemic has shaped the last 3 months, but as lockdowns around the world kind of start to kind of subside, what's next for HPS, and what's next? If you don't mind me asking, it's a hard question. What's next for the payments industry?
I will be very arrogant by telling you that I know what will happen, but what I can see, at least in a very short future, we are witnessing a lot of new actors getting in Europe because of this. That is not anymore new, but this PSD2 regulation opens so much the market. We can also see that there is more and more interoperability between the different worlds. We are seeing that in the emerging markets, that the electronic payment is really gaining against the cash. So all these changes will and are bringing opportunities. I think they are to be discovered. I think it's a matter of positioning. It's a matter how we embrace all this change, how we are capturing all this change. I think with the talents we have, with the ladies and the men that we have in the group, we should be able to produce something interesting.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, I think that's all we have time for. So thank you very much for joining me. And to all our viewers, you can catch the rest of the series at www.fintechf.com. And thank you once again for joining me. And I look forward to seeing you next week too.